All right. 56. It continues raining here. September 8th, 1998. To whom it may concern, ladies and gentlemen, the response to the invitation has already gone out. It continues raining here. The government will only remembers Chiapas when it needs to make demagoguery or to improve its public image. Certainly, Zedelo will come to the southeastern coast to hide the dead, to promise aid, to have photos taken, to repair. Let me figure out what this is. I think it's croquettes. Let me go look at this word real quick, everybody. Making sure. Yeah, I was right. Croquettes. And to cover up omission of negligence. For the rest, the rain have been here several days now, but Alborez is too busy in the Bordor to even think about the emergency plan. Here, the government knows how to kill indigenous, but never how to keep them from dying. Meanwhile, the army's planes and helicopters are making their flights over Zapatistas communities. When they are freed up, they'll go to attend to the victims. The rivers seem to be angry with ferocity. They are destroying weak bridges and roads that the government reports call, quote, important infrastructure work. In the social spending of Chiapas, why don't we go take a look at those works, those inaugurations they broadcast so widely? Regardless, the rain do not watch television, nor do they respect the set design of apparatus. As always, not until the death reach national and international news is there any sense of urgency to those forgetful ones, whom we suffer as the government. This is how it is now with the indigenous in Mexico. They only exist and are named when they are dead. Veil good health to you. And when will Chiapas exist on government maps? Not only when they are rebellions, deaths, and catastrophes. From the mountains of the southeastern Mexico, Subcomandante and Sergeant Marcos. P.S. Despite insignificant and irrelevant government reports, and as part of great festivities, here is the reoccurring postscript section. And what he means by reoccurring, he means there's another one. Oh no, it was spelled, where is it at? It was spelled Operettas. There you go. Operat, I can't say it. P.S. And these are the big, huge ones. Where it rains, it gets wet. Marshall, croquettes, Alborez. It's Albores, and his little soldiers are rubbing their hands together about the catastrophic rain battering the Chiapas coast. Millions of pesos will be sent to help the victims. Little or nothing will reach the hands of the needy. But you can be assured you will now see Zedelo on the front page in photos and reports trying to look serious, announcing rescue plans, declaring, quote, calm, everything is under control, children, end quote. Ah, poor Chiapas. The government wanting to forget about you, and the rain, which do not listen to the government reports, come to beat down paths and memories. I don't know. P.S. Another P.S. Here we go. Which says what it says. I was with Pedretto one afternoon, both of us smoking. He a chocolate cigarette, I a pipe. When I wanted to be like old Don Antonio, and so I began to lecture Pedretto, a Togelable and 2 years old, about life and other painful treasures. And I began to tell him, quote, look, Petro, Pedretto, there are things you need to know about when you grow up. Important things like trying your boots, doing up your shirt without missing any buttons, getting comfortable in the hammock, lighting the pipe with a pot mouth down, and other. Let me figure out what this word is real quick. Right back. No, we're not there. Come on. There. All right, let me look at this word real quick. Jesus, it's etceteras that you will be learning about. But now we are going to talk about when a man loves a woman. End quote. Pedretto was looking at me seriously, and he continues sucking on his chocolate cigarette. I suppose that I had then, as they say, quote, captured his imagination. Fand I continue. Look, Pedretto, when a man loves a woman, because it's not the same as when a woman loves a man, or when a man loves another man, or when a woman loves another woman, because there is a bit of everything, and it is necessary to know and to understand it. Well, when a man loves a woman, well, it's not that easy to explain as, say, what you need to do so you have no extra buttons when you've buttoned up your shirt, which can be a complicated thing if you don't pay attention and do it with care. Pay attention and do it with care. For example, I use a, quote, from the bottom up technique, which in addition to being a concept of political science is very good for buttoning up. Look, you put on the shirt and look down to the bottom end and the shirt seriously and with concentration. Pedretto frowned and looked at me seriously. Quote, like that? Good. Then you line up the lower edges of the shirt, the right at the same level as the left, which is not as simple as the centrists in politics making it appear. Here, if you aren't careful, the left side could be higher, which wouldn't be as an issue. However, the right side could be higher, in which case it would be very regrettable indeed. The balance is very important. They must be each shirt, but the bottom button isn't always the last one. You should know this, Pedretto. There are some evil shirt manufacturers who put on an extra button to replace a button if you lose one, they say, for the obvious purpose of making this indispensable garment difficult to button. Good. Now you've found the last button. Keep on looking for the corresponding buttonhole. Double entendre, financier refrain. Something that is more difficult to find than any reference in Giappa's in Zadello's report. As you will learn later on, you'll never lack a ripped seam for a buttonhole. That could be, but what is certain is that there are more buttons than buttonholes, as you will see when you skip buttons. Quote, certainly there are other techniques for not missing buttons. There is, for example, the C method. Who puts on a shirt as if they were a t-shirt. That is, she does not undo the button. Ergo, there is no missing buttons. However, I do not recommend that technique because the C and etceteras and I was explaining to you that when a man loves a woman, so you see now, Pedetro, that it is very difficult to explain how it is when a man loves a woman. But nonetheless, it's very important to understand it because while I was explaining Pedetro his concate. He said to me, stretching out his hand, asking me in his dialect for more chocolates. Quote, there aren't any, I told him. He turned around and left. And obviously that's today's youth. Has no interest in important issues. Sigh. Where was I? Ah, yes. When a man loves a woman, veil again. Health to you and wishes that it stops raining in history. Sup the archer, leader of the Gorgonates. P.S. December 23rd, 1995, which speaks of love on no love and other nuances. La Tonati arrives to show off her new teacup. Without warning, she comes out with, quote, love is like a teacup that every day falls to the ground and breaks to pieces. In the morning, the pieces are gathered, and with a little wet and with little warmth, the pieces are glued together. And again, there is a little teacup. He who is in love spends life fearing that the terrible day will come when the teacup is so broken that it can no longer be mended. She leaves just as she arrived, irritating her refusal to give me a kiss. That now more than ever really pricklies. He's talking about all right, 57 Democratic teachers and the Zapatista dream. July 31st, 1999. This is the tree of the emancipated, the earth tree, the cloud tree, the bread tree, the arrow tree, the first tree, the fire tree. The stormy water of our nocturnal epic floods it, but its most balances the arena of its might. Pablo Neruda, the liberators, Santo General, the oldest of the old. One says the world holds itself over the abyss of oblivion by the grace of the Ceiba tree. The first gods, the greatest gods, set the world above the mother tree. With colors, words, and songs, the first gods made the world. When it was finished, the gods didn't know where to leave the world, so they could then go off to sing and dance. Because these gods were very musical and quite the dancers, those gods who gave birth to the world. And the first gods could find no place to put the world. Then the gods held an assembly to reach an agreement. And yes, it took some time, but no one noticed because the world had just been born and the time for time hadn't yet come. The gods of the beginning reached their accord and called on the mother Ceiba so that she could keep the world over her head, and they hung it over her highest boughs, and she kept quiet so the world couldn't be frightened. With what I am telling you happened long ago, so long ago that it comes to pass that men and women forgot and afraid to being unable to explain the location of the world in the schools, invented stories of black holes, big bangs, solar system, galaxies, universes, and other absurdities that fill the geography books we put up with in all schools. Everyone forgot, but not quite everyone. The first gods were knowing, and they saw clearly that everyone would forget how the world had been born and where it was. That is why they wrote down the entire history of how the world was made, and even made on maps so that it would be clear where the world was. The greatest gods, those who gave birth to the world, the very first, wrote everything in their school notebooks. And then the gods searched for some place to put the notebook, where the story of how the world was made was written, and in the map of where the world was drawn. The gods argued a lot over where to put the notebook, and then they held another assembly to reach an accord. And then they called on men and women of Maize, the true ones. They told them the story of how the world was born, and they explained to them the place where it was, and so that they could remember it even if it was forgotten. They put some notes down on a little piece of paper and folded it with many creases like an accordion, and tucked it away in one of the scars that cover the bark of the ceiba tree, the ceiba. The first gods went off to their dancing and their singing, and long after the echo of the maracas guitars and the zapatilleros had faded away, the mother ceiba stood firm, supporting the world so it wouldn't fall and so it would stay in its place. Ever since then, the world has been where it is. The ceiba keeps it far from the night of the worst death and the most terrible, that of oblivion. The world is above the mother ceiba, but winds from above have assaulted it time and again throughout history, trying to make it fall into the obscurity of despair. Now, not few have been the times the world has been at the point of being lost. From all sides, the wind of power have hurled wars, catastrophe, cries, dictators, neoliberal fashion, pro-management, teachers, leaders, corrupt governments, assassins in government posts, criminal disguises as presidential aspirants, institutional revolutionary parties, NATO, and private television stations. Thousands and thousands of nightmares blowing their terror on all sides, trying to bring down the world from the lofty grace of the mother ceiba. But the world has resisted, and it hasn't fallen. True men and women from all the worlds that make up the world have become trunk and branches and leaves and roots next to the mother ceiba. So the world will not fail to resist, to create anew, to make themselves new. Terrible have been the struggles between those of above and those of below, between the powerful and the dispossessed. Much have been written for the reasons and causes for these clashes. The truth is, they all have the same foundation. The powerful want to bring down the world the ceiba holds up. Those of below want to keep the world in memory because that is where the dawn comes from. The powerful fight against, what are you doing? Powerful fights against humanity, and the dispossessed fight and dream for humanity. This is the true history. And if it does not appear in primary school textbooks, oh my gosh, my thing just closed. Fuck's sakes. I hope it didn't close where I was at. It did. God damn it. What the fuck? Okay. Where was I at? The Big Bang. Okay, that's done. The celebratory NATO, got that. Let's start from here. But the world has resisted, and it hasn't fallen. True men and women from all worlds that make up the world have become trunks and branches, and leaves and roots next to the mother ceiba. So the world will not fall, to resist, to be created anew, to make themselves new. Terrible have been the struggle between those of above and those below, between the powerful and the dispossessed. Much has been written of the reasons and causes of these clashes. The truth is, they all have the same foundation. The powerful want to bring down the world the Seba holds up. Those of below want to keep the world and memory, because that is where the dawn comes from. The powerful fight against humanity, the dispossessed fight and dream for humanity. This is the true history. And if it does not appear in primary school textbook, that is because history is still being written by those above, even though it is made by those below. But even though it's not part of the official curricula, the story of the birth of the world and the map that explains where it is still held in the scars of the Mother Seba. The oldest of the elders of their communities entrusted the secret of the Zapatista in the mountains. They spoke with them and told them there where the note was left by the first gods, those who gave birth to the world, so memory wouldn't be lost. Ever since, because they were born without faces, without names, and without individual past, the Zapatistas have been students of the story taught by the land. One dawn in the year 1994, the Zapatistas became teachers, consulting the old note of memory. They could teach how the world was born and show where it is to be found. That is why the Zapatistas are students and teachers. That is why teachers are Zapatistas, even though the reason is hidden behind 1,000 centuries in which dignity has existed. In one of the corners of the Agua Scalantanes of La Realidad, the Saiba presides, watches over, encourages, and shelters, and dizzy coming and going of men and women. There are days when no one walks on this ground, but on other mornings it is covered with men and women of all colors, sizes, and tastes, who speak and laugh and worry and dance and sing and talk and make accords, although not always, and yes, they always meet each other. In the solidarity dawns of La Realidad, when some cloud is given itself to weeping at wet length, when it is raining, hardest above and below, you can see someone left behind among the shadows, always faceless, who approaches the Mother Seba and looks for the little piece of paper among the damp scar of history. Trembling, he finds it. Trembling, he opens it. Trembling, he reads it. And trembling, he returns it to its place. That's something written on the little piece of paper. It is an enormous burden, which frees the person who carries it. It is a work, a mission, a task, something to do, a path to walk, a tree to plant and nurture, a dream to look after. Perhaps a little piece of paper speaks of the world where all worlds fit and grow. There where the difference of color, culture, size, language, sex, and history don't serve to exclude, persecute, or classify. Where the variety may once and for all break, and grayness now stifling us. Who knows? There is something about the little piece of paper. I don't know if it is an optical illusion or one of those hallucinations that abound in the mountains of the Mexican southeast, but you could swear that the shadow is smiling now. Yes, a smile like a glow. Brothers and sisters, Democratic teachers, welcome to the first Democratic Teachers and the Zapatista Dream and Centro. Welcome to La Realidad, to that which suffers and dreams, to that which permanently awaits for something good, more just, more free, more democratic. To Mexico's La Realidad, which dreams not of the best of all possible worlds, but dreams and deserves a tomorrow. This is our dream, the Zapatistas paradox, one that takes away sleep, the only dream that is dreamed, awake, sleepless, the history that is born and nurtured from below, democratic teachers. Welcome to the sleepless La Realidad. Sleepless because it stays awake for the Zapatistas' dream, democracy, liberty, and justice. From the mountains of the Mexican Southeast, some Comandante Insurgente Marcos. P.S. Regarding redundancy, in reality, since we are in La Realidad, democratic teachers is an unnecessary redundancy. To be a teacher is to be democratic. Those who aren't democratic aren't teachers. They scarcely attain the rank of dog-riding cowboys. 58. Closing words of the National Encuentro in defense of the cultural heritage, August 14th, 1999. I scattered flowers of war, I of the smiling face, for I come with war. I am Quetzals, I come flying through straight ways. I come with war. I am a beautiful black bird with a red neck. I come flying. I come to turn into a flower. I into a blood-stained rabbit. Look at me. I am serious now. Gird my side. Gird your sides. I whose eyes wink, who goes smiling. I come from within the flower courtyard. Look at me. I mean it. Gird your sides. I'm going to turn into a flower. I into a bloodstained rabbit. Nathal's poem. Being what they are, Eve's and charged memories are more real than the intangible present. And Eve on the voyage is a precious part of the trip. Jorge's Luis Borges. Once August once again, and once again dawn. The sea is asleep. The small wisp of clouds, its white awareness reposing above the mountain, once again begins its flight. It flutters, disturbs, but does not awaken the stars. Up above, the great serpent bleeds blue pearls of light. The moon, a lady, has just finished washing her face, and she appears at her balcony and is uncertain whether the cloud is taking flight, flying, or staying standing. Below, besides a candle, a shadow guards the night and memory. Another shadow approaches him, and a flame momentarily illuminates two faceless faces, shadows then of shadows. The cloud that has risen in flight hesitates a bit. The illuminated drip from the serpent of light ceases. The midnight sun comes, a far-off torch. The moon stands still in her window, and even a falling star neither falls nor rises. Everything is quiet, still. Attention, listen. Now the word reigns. Brothers and sisters, participants in the National Encuentro in defense of the culture heritage, we acknowledge the end of this first meeting in defense of memory. We know others will follow, and that this was just the first of many more encuentros and accords that will have to be built among those who are resisting and buying and selling the Mexico's culture heritage. These have been difficult and beautiful days. Perhaps that is just how it is. The government, all of you know this now, is still attacking the indigenous Zapatista communities, and it is still going forward with its war. In attacking us, the government knows it is attacking memory. That is the reason for the stubbornness, cruelty, and arrogance. That what is at stake in these lands isn't negligible. It is what saw you throughout these days and nights, speaking, discussing, agreeing, disagreeing, singing, and dancing, which is how true encuentros are made. It has been a great honor for us to have met you, and it has been an honor for us to see you share the pain and suffering, the indignation, the outrage over this new military attack against the Zapatista people. What the government did was remind everyone that there is a war going on here, that there is an entire rebel people resisting, and that there is an occupation army, the federal army, trying to guarantee the merchandise that those who govern and command have already sold. The merchandise has a name. It is called national sovereignty. It is not the first time Belows have sought to make us silent. It is not the first time they have failed. Now, as well as our silence, the blow seeks to sever us from the main resistant movement in the country, the UNAM university students who are defending the right to a free education, the Mexican Electrician Union who are defending the electricity industry, and ours, the communities from the National School of Anthropology and History, and from the National Institute of Anthropology and History, as well as all the persons and organizations who make up the National Front in defense of the cultural heritage. All these movements and ours have something in common: the defense of history. Because of that, every attack against one of these movements is attack against all the others. At least, that is how we understand it. That is why we feel that the repression against the UNAM students last August 5th was also against us. That is why we have supported the mobilization and calls of the SME. That is why we have joined you in defense of memory and against attempts of privatized and cultural heritage. Over the last few days, we have received some notes and letters. The compañeras have been collecting them in a little cardboard box. We read everything they had to say. That is why I believe they say there are little talking boxes here. There are requests for interviews, for meetings, doubts, requests for meetings and exchange, experiences, questions. The intense, difficult nature of these days has kept us from dealing with them by giving each and every one of them the response they require. We hope you will forgive us and accept our promise to answer them when and where we can. Among these papers, there is one that asks that the Zapatistas want. What the Zapatistas want? The maintains that a lot of information has been manipulated by the media, distorting what is happening here and the path that moves and inspires us. This is the month of August, and for us, it is also the month of memory. So I will try to respond to a bit to the question. Quote, what do the Zapatistas want? Now, it is not going to be easy for the media to understand us. For some strange reason, the Zapatistas speak to the future. I mean, our words don't fit in the present, but are made to fit into the puzzle that is yet to be finished. Therefore, patience is a guerrilla virtue. It was 15 years ago when I first came to these mountains. It was then in one of the guerrilla camps that I was told a story at dawn, as was mandated of 15 years before. In this August that soaked us, 30 years will have gone by. Now I will tell it to you, just as it comes back to me. Perhaps it won't be in exactly the same words, but I am sure it will be in the same spirit as that of a man who relates to me, between jokes about my pathetic appearance and the clown pants I I was wearing when he welcomed me into Zapatistas National Liberation Army. All right. The tree of tomorrow. To plant the tree of tomorrow. There is a story told that in a certain town, men and women toil away at their work to survive. Every day, the men and women went out to their respective jobs, the men to the corn and bean fields, the women to fetch firewood and water. Sometimes there was work that brought them together as equals. For example, men and women could join together to harvest the coffee when its time had come. And so things went. But there was one man who didn't live like that. He worked all right, but not to the corn and bean fields, or on the coffee plantations when the beans rended among their branches. No, this man worked plant trees on the mountain. The trees this man planted would not grow fast. Each one took entire decades to grow and send out all its branches and leaves. The other men laughed at this man and found no little fault with him. Quote, "Why work for things you will never see finish? It is better to work in the fields that give you a crop in a few months instead of planting trees that will only be grown after you are already dead. You are a fool or ridiculous because you work for nothing." The man defended himself, saying, "Yes, it is true. I won't see these trees full grown, full of branches, leaves, and birds, nor will my eyes see children playing under their shade. But if all of us work for just the present day and the day after that, who will plant the trees for descendants are going to need to have shelter, comfort, and joy?" No one understood him. The ridiculous man or fool kept planting trees, and he would never see full grown. And sensible men and women kept planting and working for the present. Time passes, and they all died, and their children carried on their work, and they were followed by children and their children. One morning, a group of boys and girls went out for a walk and found a place filled with huge trees, with 1,000 birds living in them, and their great branches giving shade from the heat and shelter from the rain. Indeed, they found an entire mountainside dense with trees. The boys and girls went back to their town, speaking of the marvelous place. When men and women gathered together, they went there and were filled with wonder. Quote, "Who planted this?" they asked. Nobody knew. They asked their elders, and they didn't know either. Only one old one, the oldest of that community, could give them the information, and he told them the story of a ridiculous man and fool. The man and woman assembled and had a discussion. They saw and understood the man who their ancestors had dealt with so harshly, and they admired that man very much and were fond of him. They knew that memory can travel very far and arrive where no one can guess. The men and women of that day went to the place of the great trees. They made a circle around one great tree in the middle of the grove and put a sign on it in colored letters. They held a fiesta. Dawn was already approaching when the last dancer were leaving to go to sleep. The great forest was left alone in silence. It rained. When the skies cleared, the moon came out, and the Milky Way reshaped its twisting body one more time. Suddenly, a ray of moonlight insinuated itself among the great branches and leaves of the tree. In the middle, and by its faint light, you could read a sign of colors that had been left there. To the first ones, those who came later understood. Health to you. What I am recounting to you was told to me 15 years ago, and 15 years had gone by when what they told me had come to pass. And yes, perhaps it is pointless to say it in words because we say it with deeds, but still, those who came later did understand. And if I am telling you the story, it is not just to give our regards to the first ones, nor is it is it just to make you a gift of a little piece of that memory that seems lost and forgotten? No, not just for those things, but also to try to answer the question of what the Zapatistas want. To plant the tree of tomorrow. That is what we want. We know that in these frenetic times of realistic politics, of fallen banners, of polls substituting for democracy, of neoliberal criminals who call for crusades against what they are hiding and what feeds them. The Chamulian-like metamorphosis, saying we want to plant the tree of tomorrow, sounds foolish and ridiculous, but nevertheless, to us, it is not a phrase born of drama or absolute utopianism. We know all that, and nevertheless, that is what we want, and that is what we are doing. How many people in the worlds that make up the world can say, as we do, that they are doing what they want to do? We think there are many, that the worlds of the world are filled with ridiculous and foolish people, each planting their trees for each of their tomorrows, and that the day will come when this mountainside of the universe that some call planet Earth will be filled with trees of all colors, and there will be so many birds and comforts that, yes, it is likely no one will remember the first one, because all the yesterdays which vex us today will be no more than old page in the old book of old history. The tree of tomorrow is a space where everyone is, where the others know and respect the others, and where the false light loses its lost battle. If you press me to be precise, I would tell you it is a place with democracy, liberty, and justice. That is the tree of tomorrow. This is what the Zapatistas want. And it might seem I've been vague in my answer, but I haven't. I have been spoken. I have never spoken so clearly before. In any case, times will come in which those words will fit, and together with embrace will expand, and they'll be heard and guarded, and they'll grow. That is what the words are for, and yes, also those who go speak them. Take a little break. Just look back. Oh my God. Corn nuggets is weird. Okay. All right, let's go on now. Memories has its own reality. Brothers and sisters, it might seem odd that I'm bringing together a Nahalt poem and a Popol Vuh and Jorge Luis Borges for this closing, especially Borges. And although I could say that this month is the 100th anniversary of his birth, that is not the reason why he is sharing space with our most ancient wise ones and storytellers. No, it so happens that a book reached my beat up desk. The wind that had played it, the wind that had played with it and opened it to the page heading, quote, August 22nd, 1983. I don't know if August was insinuating itself into my memory in this way, but the fact is that nature was emitting art, and the words that at the top of this piece of writing with the Nahalt poem jumped out from the page. Perhaps Borges came so we can remember that our culture heritage is not just one thing, and that everything has something of the universal. Or perhaps he only came to tell us in his own way on his own way that memory has its own reality, like the memory of La Realidad that today joins us together. Or perhaps he only came so that he might tell us all that in effect this is just the eve of a long voyage, and that therefore the voyage has already begun. In the end, we know, and that is why we are here, that the fangs of the false light will fall, and with stones of grains of maize. A tree will grow in any place, in any world. And even if no one then will have memory, the tree will know that the first ones were necessary and kept their word. Meanwhile, the soil will still have to be re-aided. We will have to learn to let time take its time, and despite the ignorant olive drab, continue to struggle so that the word becomes bridge and stone and maize and tree and the hope of tomorrow. All that and more is what the Zapatistas are and what they want. Veil health to you, and although it looks like we are defending the past, in reality, in La Realidad, we have agreed to defend tomorrow. Democracy, liberty, and justice. From the mountains of the Mexican Southeast, by the Clandestine Revolutionary Indigenous Committee, General Command of the Zapatistas Army of National Liberation, Subcomandante Insurgente Marcos, La Realidad awake. Section 3, Creating Memory, includes the writings that most express Marcos' sense of playfulness, personal reflection, and humor, but also tales that assert age-old community beliefs, perspectives, and orientations as active and living concurrent in the fabric of present-day Mexico, the humanity as a whole, through the characters of the beetle Derecho, Old Don Antonio, the sea, and the ancient gods of indigenous lore. Marcos fashions tales from the deeper forces that shape the uniform, the Zapatistas revolutionary project, the human frailty, tenderness, and inventiveness, indomitable sense of dignity, longing to connect, the demands for freedom that centers their resistance and advances their movement for democratic otherness, openness, and autonomy. Part 1, Tales of the Sleepless Solitude. Stories of Don Derecho. 59. 10 years later, Derecho found us again. December 25th, 1995. In the breathless... Oh, gotta do a puzzle. Look at me, I did it the first time. Am I great? In the breathless solitude of the first year of the Zapatista uprising, a particular fellow appeared at our camp. A little smoke beetle, very well read and an even better talker, who gave himself the task of giving his company to a soldier El Sup, legally named, oh my gosh, Nambachataznazara. This beetle traveled incognito, goes under the nom de Garea, Derecho, because of his hard shell. Derecho, like all children, has a thick skin, and it's for that very reason that he chose the child we all have inside, whom we've completely forgot because it shames us as his primary interlocutor. Early one morning, 10 years later, towards the end of our retreat from February's military treachery, Derecho found us again and again touched the best in us, our astounding capacity for human tenderness and our hope of growing better together with others. Sometimes a detective, sometimes a political analyst, sometimes a knight errant, as well as a writer of epistles. Derecho addresses us, holding up for us a mirror to the future, showing us what might be. In this still darkness, help comes to breasts gone tight with fear of the unknown. Daretto opens a wound in our breasts, a painful wound that lets us draw our breath. And self-dubbed Knight Errant has returned with a new title, Don Daretto of the Lakandan. This little beetle has traveled the road of the world, righting wrongs, rescuing damsels in distress, healing the sick, aiding the weak, instructing the arrogant, humbling the mighty, exalting the humble. The greatest king errant the world has ever seen, Don Daretto of the Lakanda lives, still amazing the stars that find him back in the jungle's nights. News of his deeds have circled the world. Millions of women sigh for his, thousands of men speak his name with respect, and hundreds of thousands of children worship him. Don Daretto shares some of his thoughts with us, recounting his adventures in thousands of one nights of harrowing tales, and teach the lightened and endless breathless nights of Mexican Southeast. Daretto will be 10 years old this month, December 1995. Anxious for the results of the intergalactic convention that met to determine whether he would be dazzling us with his wonders or would be lost among the countless footpaths of the mountains of the Mexican Southeast. Today, September 25th, 1995, we salute the best and the greatest practitioner of Knight Errant, Don Daretto. From the mountains of the south of the Mexican Southeast, Subcomandante Sergeanti Marcos. 60. How are we doing on time? Doing great. Let's look back. I don't think there's lots to look back on, honestly. Nope, no one said anything. The Mararana Mongol, age 10. April 10th, 1994. Subcomandante Marina Mangul. I greet you with respect and congratulate you for the next rank you have acquired with your drawing. Permit me to tell you a story that perhaps you will understand someday. It is a story of Daretto. I am going to tell you a story that came to me a little while back. It is the story of a small beetle who wears glasses and smokes a pipe. I met him one day as I was looking for my tobacco, and I couldn't find it. Suddenly, on one side of my hammock, I saw that a bit of tobacco had fallen to the ground and formed a small trail. I followed to see where the tobacco thread was going and to see who the hell had taken it and spilled it. A few meters away, behind a rock, I found a beetle sitting at a little desk reading some papers and smoking a tiny pipe. Amim, I said, so that the beetle would notice my presence, but he paid no attention to me. Then I said, listen, that tobacco is mine. The beetle took off his glasses, looked up and down, and told me angrily, please, Captain, I beseech you, do not interrupt me. Don't you realize that I am studying? End quote. I was a bit surprised and was going to give him a good kick, but I calmed myself and sat down to one side to wait for him to finish studying. In a little while, he gathered up his paper, put them away in the desk, and chewing on his pipe, said to me, well, now what may I do for you, Captain? My tobacco, I replied. Your tobacco, he asked. You want me to give you a little? I was beginning to get pissed off, but the little beetle passed me a bag of tobacco with his little foot and added, don't be angry, Captain. Please understand that you can't get tobacco around here, so I had to take some of yours. I calmed down. The beetle was growing on me, and I told him, don't worry about it. I've got more around somewhere. He answered. And you? What is your name? I asked him. Nabekchadnezzari. I can't say his name. He said, and continued, but my friend called me Dareto. You can call me Dareto, Captain. I thanked him for the courtesy of asking him what he was studying. I am studying neoliberalism. It is a strategy of domination of Latin America, he answered. And what good is that to a beetle? I asked him. He replied, very annoyed. What good is it? I have to know how long your struggle is going to last and whether or not you are going to win. Besides, a beetle should care enough to study the situation of the world in which he lives. Don't you think, Captain? I don't know, I said. But why do you want to know how long our struggle will last and whether or not we are going to win? Well, you haven't understood a thing, he told me, putting on his glasses and lightening his pipe. After letting out a puff of smoke, he continued, we beetles need to know how long we are going to have to make sure that you are not squash us with your big boots. I said. He said, and that conclusion have you come to in your study? I asked him. He took out the paper from his desk and began to leaf through them. He said, ever so often as he reviewed them. After having finished, he looked me in the eye and said, you're going to win. I already knew that, I told him, but how long will it take? A long time, he said, sighing with resignation. I already knew that too. Don't you know exactly how long? I asked. It's uncertain. Many things must be taken into account. The objective conditions, the ripeness of the subjective conditions, and the correlations of force, the crisis of imperialism and the crisis of socialism, etc., etc. I said. What are you thinking about, Captain? Nothing, I answered. Well, Mr. Dareto, I have to go. It was a pleasure to have met you. And you may take all the tobacco you want whenever you like. Thank you, Captain. You can be informal with me if you like. Thank you, Dareto. Now I am going to give orders to my compañeros that it is forbidden to step on beetles. I hope that is of some help. Thank you, Captain. Your order will be very useful to us. But regardless, we are very careful because my boys are very distracted and they don't always watch where they are going. I'll see to that, Captain. See you later. Come whenever you like and we'll talk. I'll do that, I told him and went back to headquarters. At all, Marina, I hope to meet you personally someday and to be able to trade sky masks and drawings. Veil health to you. And more color pens, because the ones you used surely must have run out of ink. From the mountains of the Mexican Southeast, Subcomandante Sergeante Marcos. 61. Classes to sea to the other side. February through May 1995. Cut from the inverse side of mirror ceases to be a mirror and becomes a glass mirror. R for looking on this side. The glass is made to look to the other side. Mirrors are made to be etched. A glass is made to be broken to cross to the other side. From the mountains of the All right, P.S. The image of the real or the unreal, which searches among so many mirrors for a glass to break. Dareto, Dawn, Mexico City. Dareto wanders through the streets adjoining the Zicalo, sporting a small trench coat and a hand angled like Humphrey Bogart in Casablanca. Dareto pretends to pass unnoticed. His outfit is slow crawling are unnecessary. as he sticks to the shadows that escapes the bright display windows. Shadows of the shadow, silent walk, angled hat, a dragged trench coat. Dorito walks at dawn through Mexico City. No one notices him. They do not see him, not because he is well disguised or because of that tiny quixotic detective outfit from the 1950s, or because he is barely distinguishable from the mound of garbage. Dorito walks amid papers being dragged here and there by the whisk of the unpredictable winds that populate the dawns of Mexico City. No one sees Dorito for the simple reason that in this city, no one sees anyone. This city is sick, Dorito writes me. It is sick from loneliness and fear. It is a great collective of solitudes. It is a collection of cities, one for each resident. It is not about sums of anguish, but you know of the loneliness without anguish, but about a potency. Each loneliness is multiplied by the number of lonely people that surround it. It is as though each person, solitude, entered a house of mirrors, like those you see in the country fairs. Each solitude, is a mirror that reflects another solitude, and like a mirror, bounce off more solitudes. Let me make sure. I think it is. Just gonna make sure. Come on. Hold on a second, everybody.
Mirror bounces off more solitudes.
I was right. Solitudes. Dorito has begun to discover that he is in foreign territory, that the city is not his place. In his heart, and in this dawn, Dorito packs his bag. He walks this road as though taking inventory. At last caress, like a lover who knows this is goodbye. A certain moments of the sounds of footsteps diminishes. The cry of the sirens, which frightens outsiders, increases. And Dorito is one of those outsiders, so he stops on the corner each time the red and blue blinking lights crisscross the street. Dorito takes advantage of the complicity of a doorway in order to light a pipe, guerrilla style. A tiny spark, a deep breath, and the smoke engulfing his gaze and face. Dorito stops. He looks and sees. In front of him, a display window catches his eye. Dorito comes near and looks through the great glass pane to what exists beyond it. Mirrors of all shapes and sizes, porcelain and glass figurines, cut crystals, tiny music boxes. Quote, there are no talking boxes, end quote, Dorito says to himself, without forgetting the long years spent in the jungle of the Mexican Southeast. Dorito has come to say to this city, which everything stopped, light goes out like a candle extinguished by the gentle wind lick on its face. Another gesture and a reflecting light illuminates a music box in the display window. A ballerina in the fine linen costume holds the endless stillness, hands crossed overhead, legs held together, balanced on tippy toes. Dorito tries to imitate the position, but promptly gets his many arms entangled. Another magic gesture, and the piano and the size of the cigarette box appears. Dorito sits in the front of the piano and puts a jug of beer on the top. Who knows where he got it from? but it's already half empty. He cracks and flexes his fingers, doing digital gymnastics, just like the pianist in the movies. Then he turns towards the ballerina and nods his head. The ballerina begins to stir and makes a bow. Doreto's hum, an unknown tune, beats a rhythm with his little legs, closes his eyes, and begins to sway. The first note begins. Doreto plays the piano with 4 hands. On the other side of the glass pane, the ballerina begins to thrill and gently lifts her right thigh. Doreto leans on the keyboard and plays ferociously. The ballerina performs her best steps within the prison of the little music box. The city disappears. There is nothing but Doreto at his piano and the ballerina in her music box. Doreto plays and the ballerina dances. The city is surprised. Its cheeks blush as when one receives an unexpected gift and pleasant surprise. Good news. Doreto gives his best gift, an unbreakable and internal mirror, an instance, and a goodbye that is harmless, that heals and cleanses. The spectacle lasts only a few instants. The last notes fade as the cities that populate this city take shape again. The ballerina turns to her uncomfortable immobility. Doreto turns up the collar of his trench coat and makes a slight bow towards the display window. Quote, Will you always be behind the glass pane? Doreto asks her and asks himself. Quote, will you always be on the other side of my over here? And will I always be on this side of your over there? End quote. Health to you, and until always, my beloved malcontent. Happiness is like a gift. It lasts for a moment and is worth it. Doreto crosses the street, arranges his hat, and continues to walk. Before going around the corner, he turns towards a display window. The star-shaped hole adorns the glass. The alarms are ringing uselessly. Behind the window, the ballerina is no longer in the music box. Quote, the city is sick. When its illness becomes a crisis, it will be cured. This collective loneliness, multiplied by millions and empowered, will end by finding itself and finding the reasons for its powerlessness. Then, and only then, will this city shed its gray dress and adorn itself with bright colored ribbons, which are so abundant in the provinces. This city lives in cruel game of mirrors, but the game of mirrors is useless and sterile. If finding the transparency of glass is not a goal, it is enough to understand this, and as who knows who said, struggle and began to be happy. Quote, I am coming back. Prepare the tobacco and the insomnia. I have a lot to tell you, Sancho. Doreto signs off. It is morning. A few piano notes accompany the day that comes, and Doreto, who leaves the west. The sun is like a rock, shattering the glass pane of the morning. Veil once again, health to you, and leave surrendered to the empty mirrors. El Sup getting up from the piano and confused by so many mirrors, looking for the next door. Or is it the entrance? 62. Deep inside the cave of desire. March 17th, 1995. I was listening on the little tape player at the tune by Stephen Still from the album Four-Way Street that goes, find the coast of freedom, bury the ground, Mother Earth will swallow you, lay your body down. When my other self comes running and tells me, quote, it looks like you got what you deserve. Could it be the PRI has already fallen? I ask with hope. No, man, they killed you, says my other self. Me? When? Where? I ask while I search my memory for where I've been and what I've done. Today in confrontation, but they don't say exactly where, he responds. Oh God, oh good. And did I end up badly hurt or really dead? I insist, really dead. That's what it says in the news. Explain my other self and then leaves. The narcissistic sob competes with the crickets. Quote, why are you crying? Asked Dorito. As he lights his pipe. Because I am attending my funeral. I, who loved me so much. And so this what happened to El Sup and Dorito on the 12th day of the withdrawal, which speaks of the mysteries of the cave of desire and of other unfortunate events that today make us laugh, but at the time took away even our hunger. What if they bomb us? Asked Dorito in the early morning of the 12th day of our withdrawal. Quote, that was not no withdrawal. It was pure fight, said Dorito. It's cold and dark. A gray wind licks the trees and the earth with its icy tongue. I am not sleeping. Solitude makes the cold hurts twice as much. Nevertheless, I keep quiet. Dorito comes out from beneath the leaf he's been using as a blanket and climbs up on top of me to wake me up. He starts licking my nose. I sneeze so soundly that Dorito ends up tumbling over himself into my boots. He recovers and makes his way back to my face. What's up? I ask him before he tickles me again. What if they bomb us? He persists. Yes. Well, we'll look for a cave or somewhere like that to hide ourselves, or we'll crawl into a hole. We'll see what to do. I say with annoyance and a look at my watch to insinuate that it is no hour to be worrying about bombing. I won't have any problems. I can fit anywhere. But you, with those big boots and that nose, I doubt that you'll find a safe place, says Dorito, as he covers himself again with a little hapuk leaf. The psychology of terror, I think, will respect to Dorito's appearance, indifference to our fate. Our fate? He's right. He won't have a problem but me, I think. I get up and speak to Dorito. Piss, Dorito. I'm sleeping, he says from under his leaf. I ignore his sleep and begin talking to him. Quote, yesterday I heard Camilo and my other self saying that there are a lot of caves around here. Camilo says he knows most of them. There are small ones. There are armadillo would barely fit, and there are some as big as churches. But he says there is one that no one dares to enter. He says there is an ugly store about that cave, which have called the Cave of Desire. Dorito seems to get interested. His cave? Well, it's a very long story. I heard it myself, but that was years ago now. I don't remember it well. I say, making it interesting. Fine, go on, tell me the story, says Dorito, more and more interested. I light my pipe. From within the aromatic smoke comes a memory, and with it. Oh, that was the end. The Cave of Desire. Let's see. All right, we're good at time. It happened many years ago. It is a story of a love that was left unfulfilled. It is a sad story, a terrible, says El Sup, sitting on the side with his pipe in his lips. He lights it and looking at the mountains continues. A man came from far away. He came, or he already was here. No one knows. It was back in the times long past, and however that may be, in these lands people lived and died just the same. without hope and forgotten. No one knows if that man was young or old. At first, only a few people had seen him. They say that was because this man was extremely ugly. Just to see him produced dread in men and revulsion in women. What was it that made him so unpleasant? I don't know. The concept of beauty and ugliness changed so much from one age to another and from one culture to another. In this case, the people native to these lands avoided him, and did the foreigners who owned the land, the men and their destinies. The indigenous people called him the Jolmash, or monkey face. The foreigners called him the animal. The men went into the mountains far from the gaze of all, and set to work there. He made himself a little house next to one of the many caves that were found there. He made the land produce, plant corns and wheat, hunted animals in the forest. This gave him enough to get by. Ever so often he went down to the stream near the settlement. There he had arranged with one of the older members of the community to get salt, sugar, and whatever else he and Jolmash couldn't get in the mountains in exchange for corn and animal skins. The Jolmash would arrive at the stream at the hour when the afternoon began to darken, and the shadow of the trees brought forth night into earth. The old man had an illness in his eyes and couldn't see well, so that with the dusk and his illness, he couldn't make out the face of the man who caused so much revulsion in the daylight. One evening, the old man didn't arrive. The Jolmash thought that he had mistaken the hour and arrived when the old man had already gone home. In order to not miss him the next time, he made sure to arrive earlier. The sun still had a few finger length to go before it covered itself with the mountains when the Jolmash came near the stream. A murmur of laughter and voices grew as he approached. The Jolmash slowed his steps and silently got closer. Among the branches and vines he made out a pool formed by the waters and the stream. A group of women were bathing and washing clothes. They were laughing. The Jolmash looked on quietly. His heart became all eyes. His voice turned into a gaze. Long after the women had gone, the Jolmash stayed on looking. The stars rained down on the field as he returned to the mountains. I don't know if it came from what he saw or from what he thought he saw. Rather, the image that was engraved on his retina corresponded to reality, or if it existed only in his desires. But Jolmash fell in love, or thought that he fallen in love, and his love was not something idealized or platonic. No, it was quite earthy. And the feelings that he bore were like the call of a war drum, like lightning that becomes fierce rain. Passion took his hand, and the Jolmash began to write letters, love letters, the delirium that filled his hand, and he wrote such things, quote, "O lady glimmering moist, my desire becomes a proud leap cult. My hunger sword of 1,000 mirrors yearns for thy body. In vain this double-edged yearning rips the 1,000 grasps and ride the wild. One grace, long sleeplessness. I ask thee for one grace, lady failed reposed of my gray existence. Let me rest on thy shoulder. Let thy ears listen to my clumsy longing. Let my desire tell thee gently, very gently, that which my breast silences. Do not look, lady, lady, so not mine. At the pitiful mess that adorns my face. Let thy ears become thy gaze. Give up thy eyes to see the murmurs that walks within me, longing for thee. Yes, I wish to enter you, and with sigh walk the path that hands the lips and the sex desire. You with thy wet mouth, I'm thirsting to enter with a kiss. On the double hill of thy breast, I long to run my lips and fingers, to awaken the cluster of moans that hid within. I long to march southward and imprison my waist in warm embrace, burning now the belly's skin, a brilliant sun announcing the night born from below, diligently and skillfully to rise and fall on the seesaw, on which thy grace rides in those fulcrum promises and denies, to give the warmth of my palms in the double warmth of flesh and movement. At first one slow step, a light trot next the runway gallops, the bodies and desires to reach the sky and then collapse. One grace promised tenderness, one grace I ask thee, lady of the quiet sigh. Let my hand rest on thy shoulder, for there I am saved, and far away I die. One stormy night, like the passion that burned in his hands, a bolt of lightning burned down the Jolmesh little house. Wet and shivering, he took refuge in the neighboring cave. With a torch he lit his way in the and found there little figures, a couple's given the and receiving. The pleasure worked in the stone and clay. There was a spring, a little box, and little boxes that when opened spoke of terrors and marvels that had passed and that would come to be. The Jolmesh now could not or would not leave the cave. There he felt a desire fill his hands once more and wrote, wavering bridges to nowhere. And now, dear lady, I am a pirate longing for port. Tomorrow a soldier at war. Today a pirate lost among the trees aground. The ship of desire unfolds its sails, a continual moaning, all tremor and wanting, leads the ship between monsters and storms. Lightning illuminates and flickers seas and desperations, and command a sailing moisture takes the helm. Pure wind, world alone, I navigate, seeking thee among signs and painting, seeking the precise place the body sends thee. Desiring lady of storm to come, is a knot hidden somewhere beneath thy sky. I must find it, and muttering spells unite it. Then thy longing, thy feminine swaying shall be free, and they will fill thine eyes and mouth, thy womb and belly, but free for just a moment, for my hands already come to make them prisoners, to lead them to sea in my embrace, and with my body I shall be ship and restless seas, so that I may enter thy body, and there shall be no rest in so much storm. Copernicus waves, waves will toss our bodies about, and one last and ferocious slap of salty desire will hurl us to a beach where sleep arrives. Now I am a pirate, lady of tender storm. Don't await my assault, come to it. Let the sea, the wind, and this stone turn ships to witnesses. The cave of desire, the horizon clouds over with black wine. Now we are arriving, now we go. So it happened. Then they say that Jolmesh never again left the cave. No one knows whether the woman to whom he wrote the letter exists in truth, or was a product of the cave of desires. What they say is that Jolmesh still lives in it, and whoever comes close becomes afflicted. with the same desire. Dareto has followed the whole story attentively. When he sees I have finished, he simply says, "We have to go." Let's see how long this one is. All right, I think I will stop here because the next one's pretty long. Let me make sure. Yeah. All right, so I will stop here, but it's way too far from the next one. All right, so we're gonna stop at, I'm saying the name wrong, Dareto and Pegasus.
Hello.
Hello, hold on just a second. We do a couple things here. We stopped at page 359. All right, this was a little abstract for me, to be honest. It just feels like stories and stuff like that. I'll be honest.
Did you realize what you were just reading?
Why would I be asking the question?
Well, I was just saying it was romance.
Yes, which is abstract to me.
Specifically smut.
Yeah, I don't know what I read. It was kind of like, I'm not all like, this is kind of out my depth and it's not that interesting. I guess because I'm not too romantic and shit, I guess, you know?
Yeah, and plus you're like a sex repulsed, asexual as well.
So it was very abstract for me.
Yeah. I did like the part where it talked. Oh, sorry.
Well, go ahead. You're probably getting my feedback.
Okay, so I did like the one where it talked about solitude and how it multiplied like a mirror shining into another mirror, and how like that creates like a greater loneliness when you're around other lonely people and not connecting.
Yeah, I can see that. That's within our community now, too, within our societies now. The more hyper-individualized stagnation and no interconnections, they try to sever those connections. I get it now.
I really enjoyed Dorito, the Beetle, and he was playing for the ballerina to become free. He played for freedom, and I thought that was beautiful.
That's cool. Thank you for bringing that into play. It was just all abstract for me, but that's because my brain doesn't hit these things too well. I need a manual. Does anybody else have anything to say?
You lost the game.
Okay, I don't care. Yeah, lost the game. All right, then. Does anybody else have anything to say, to come up or anything like that? Would like to talk about it, what they've heard? If not, that's okay too. I'll give it a couple seconds. Yeah, not even the refugees are coming barely.
It's because they see the single digit number.
Yeah.
On the occupancy.
Yeah, that's true. All right, then. Well, then I'll close it out since no one else has anything to say, and feed Rufus. All right?
All right. Good.
All right, give Rufus loves.
All right, everybody.